Joachim Bitterlich is a security specialist and a former German ambassador to NATO. He joins me now on the set. Thank you so much for coming in. Macron was once known for famously or perhaps infamously saying that NATO was becoming brain dead. How would you say his attitude has changed since the Russian invasion of Ukraine?
Well, brain dead was perhaps a bit exaggerated, a bit symbolic to some extent, asking, and there he's right, for reforms of NATO. Our American friends have been asking us for the last 10 years to do more for our defense. Let's say to look after our neighborhood independently, autonomously, in conjunction with NATO, okay, but more autonomously from the Americans. And we have not done enough insofar in the past. Insofar, Macron is right, asking for reforms and asking for a European defense compatible with NATO as a sort of complementary basis, at the same time autonomic basis. And there, I think the 24th of February has changed deeply the situation in Europe. We have to come back, let's say, to defense, to territorial defense of Europe, because of the Russian invasion and of the risks of the Russians towards our eastern member states of the European Union. And therefore, I think we have to review what I call defense deeply.
President Macron will be going to Romania tonight. He's due to be meeting some 500 French soldiers who have been sent to a NATO base since Russia's invasion in late February. What's going to happen to those men? Will they be sent in?
Not sent in Ukraine, no. They are defending what I call the East, reinforcing the eastern flank of NATO. The same do the Germans and others in the north, in the Baltic countries. The same do the Americans in Poland. And therefore it's a clear signal to Putin, there's a stop. There's a red light, a clear red light, don't attack any NATO country.
Many people have criticized the French President Emmanuel Macron for keeping up this discussion, these conversations with Vladimir Putin. What do you think about that strategy?
Well, perhaps certain expressions used in front of the press were perhaps not the best. You call it in French maladroit, a bit. But I think we have to maintain open the lines with Moscow, because there will be a day after. If we like it or not, there will be a day after. And I think we have to be prepared and to use these lines in the right moment then. And therefore, even if these talks do not help for the moment, they show to the Russians indeed, stop, the Europeans and the Americans stick, let's say, to defending their goals and defending the Ukraine. They know it, the Russians. But up till now, the Russians, I think, will continue. And we will have to wait for the moment where the Russians have a feeling, well, it's sufficient, at least for the moment. And we could stop the war for the moment. And then negotiations will be coming in. And I think the first signal will have to come from our side, from the Americans, because the Russians are looking for this equal footing with the Americans. We are the second violin in the orchestra, not the first one. But when we have a certain opportunity, let's say, to rebuild with them a certain European security structure, but this is what I call the day after.
So how do we get to that day after exactly? How do we get to that point? In the meantime, there are millions of Ukrainians who are suffering every day.
Yes, they are. And when you look at the number of refugees, when you look at this total destruction, what the Russians do in the East, well, it's, first of all, the Russians do not accept the independence of the Ukraine till now. And I think we have forgotten this to a certain extent, that the Russians have never really accepted an independent Ukraine. In my active period, we were thinking about, let's say, a neutral Ukraine as a bridge between the West and the East. And the Americans have destroyed this to some extent, pledging in favor of the accession of the Ukraine to NATO, which was, in my eyes, mission impossible at the end, or you may call this the red line for the Russians. And this was the real red line for the Russians. And therefore, I think, till today, the outcome of this war may be a non-aligned Ukraine, at least for the next 25 years, next decades. and then perhaps even a more federalized Ukraine with certain autonomous status of certain regions to be negotiated. But I think the Ukrainians, on the one hand, will have to, let's say, to be careful with regard to us. I know Zelensky asks for more. 2 days ago, he spent an interview to German TV, and I think his mission was, let's say, towards the Germans and towards the French, and asking to the Germans, please do not use the splits between Ukraine and Moscow. You have to decide whom you have to help and whom you have to assist. What he's asking is more assistance through heavy modern weapons in order to stop the Russian army.
Joachim Bitterlich, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your expertise with us here on France 24. Thank you.